everyone, and welcome to the fourth Asia CEO Online Forum, brought to you by Asia CEO in partnership with PLDT Enterprise, Multisys, Regis, LBC, and JLL. Before we begin, please bow down your heads and join us for the invocation. Heavenly Father, we come to you in confidence, asking for your blessings and graces as we hold today's event. We thank you for your guidance, protection, and love. We wish to thank our partners, friends, viewers who are with us today. None of this will be possible without everyone's help and contribution. We are grateful for this opportunity to be with the great speakers. Please bless our speakers, speak to our hearts through their words. Dear God, you have clearly showed us how to conduct our event with a spirit of joy and enthusiasm. We are grateful for the opportunity to come together in unity, service, and love. Bless us that we may be one in heart and in mind for one purpose, to help Filipinos. Guide our hearts and minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Grant us peace in knowing we are pursuing your purpose for our lives. In Jesus' name, amen. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the Philippine National Anthem.
COVID-19 has shown us that we can work well anywhere, anytime, and on any device. Technology lets us get more done, gives us more flexibility, and saves everyone money. Welcome to the 4th Asia CEO Online Forum.
Okay, good morning, everyone. So glad to have everyone here. I know we had well over 1,000 people registered for the event, so given our experience in the past, we'll have quite a few thousands of people with us from around the world. Really glad to have you. So technology, this is the thing that has saved us over the past few months, it seems to me. Both our workplace has been saved mainly, and our mental state, because we have something to do with our time. But we want to promote the use of technology for the future. I can say that we're all sick and tired of hearing about Filipinos, as most Filipinos do, spend 3 to 4 hours per day in transit. And with technology, they can be freed a little bit by this, even if they can work a day or two a week with technology from home or other places. Women with children in particular can be empowered. This is a heartbreaking thing, and most business leaders talk about the crisis of losing so many good employees because they get pregnant. Also, people in the provinces can finally fully participate in the workplace. So we want all of our speakers today to really commit to promote tech in their workplaces. And all of us listening today, this should be kind of our mission today and as we gradually, slowly turn to normality. Let's see how it's going to happen, but it seems like it's going to be a stop and go sort of a process. So we're going to hear some top leaders today talk about how we're going to do this and how they're doing it in their own organization. So I'll introduce them here quickly for you first. You can see them on the screen. First, we have Nico Elkasiba. He's Vice President, Head of the ICT Business Group at PLDT Enterprise. Glad to have you, Nico. Looking very nice, I must say. Next, we have Carlo Opley, the founder of Unbox, the country's highest visited tech website. 500,000 visitors per day, or something, kind of a celebrity in the tech online industry. So we're really glad to have him. Is he dressed in his standard kind of rebel attire? So glad to have Carlo today. Our next speaker is looking very handsome and dapper, is Alex Cabrera. He is the chairman and CEO of PwC Philippines, the country's second largest and fastest growing audit firm in the country. So glad to have you, Alex, with us today. Next is Patrick Gentry. Patrick is one of the nation's kind of tech leaders, certainly built the country's dominant HR systems platform. So we're pleased to hear about his success. I should tell you that his business was founded by himself and his wife, his Filipino wife, so don't want to forget her. She's been a key part, as I'm sure he'll vouch. Next is David Elmer. He is one of the country's leading tech entrepreneurs, and I noticed that just like Patrick, his hair has grown a bit over the past few months, but still looking very good, and glad to hear David is with us, and we'll look forward to hearing his as well. Next is Andres Ortola, the general manager of Microsoft, with us today, also looking very good, I must say. And lastly, our kind of a highlight is Raymond Labora. Raymond Labora with us today. I know he's a busy fellow. He's the National Privacy Commissioner. We've had him speak live in the past, and he's just the nicest fella in the world, so we're pleased to have him with us. And so that's our day. We're going to have a very exciting event, so let's get going. And our first speaker we have is Nico Elkasiba. He is formal title is VP and Head of ICT Business for PLDT Enterprise. So he looks after all the kind of up and coming and complicated stuff, data centers, cloud computing, cybersecurity, managed IT services, all these kinds of things. So, Nico, look forward to hearing your story, and welcome to the event.
Morning, Richard. On behalf of PLDT Enterprise, a pleasant morning to everyone. I am very excited to be here with you today. We hope everyone's keeping safe and staying home. Some time back, I read a quote that I'd like to begin with because it resonates today more than ever. We are in the same boat, but we are not. We are not in the same boat, but we are in the same storm. Yes, our circumstances may be different, but we are all dealing with the same uncertain, unsettling, and far-reaching situation. And this is true on both personal and organizational levels, and no true than how we have had to run our businesses and our lives mostly from home. Internet access, online commerce, on-demand contactless delivery, all have become interwoven into our social fabric. From the rise of the now iconic ube cheese pandesal to the mundane hair clipper, with the latter becoming essential due to the all-day windfall of video calls in our work-from-home setup. And we have all dealt with this pivot to work from home, from anywhere for that matter, with varying degrees of enthusiasm and pessimism. Some were forced into it kicking and screaming. Others embraced it wholeheartedly. And some of us, even today, with more than 70 days of ECQ under our belt, are still on the fence regarding how we feel about our personal lives being a hop, step, and skip away from our workspaces. That being said, the future of work is undeniably steering toward a single yet expansive direction everywhere. In fact, the London Business School, in its 2019 Global Leadership Summit, projected that half of all jobs will be remote by 2025. Perhaps much sooner now than 2025, given the fluidity of the situation today, and most probably much more than half now with the new physical distancing guidelines. And in order to thrive in this still evolving wave of change in ways of working, we have turned to technology to help us attain a certain sense of control and normalcy in our day-to-day tasks. At PLDT Enterprise, our aspiration is to make a positive impact on every single business, enabling them, in turn, to make a positive impact on every single customer. And while quality internet access is the obvious foundation for a productive work from anywhere employee, our own experience tells us that there are other factors that matter. First, data privacy. While each company has its own policies on bring your own device and secure remote access via encrypted connections, other ways to safeguard customer data are through platforms such as virtual desktops where no data leaves the corporate network. This is in wide use globally by healthcare providers, financial institutions, and other organizations that handle sensitive information. On the local policy front, the National Privacy Commission has issued Bulletin 12 on protecting personal data in a work-from-home arrangement. And our esteemed fellow speaker, Commissioner Labora, will be covering this in the next few moments. Second, security. Employees are now outside of the company's office network, which opens infinitely more attack vectors for cyber criminals. And cyber threats are on an exponential rise. From EPLDT Security Operations Center alone, comparing April 2020 data versus the previous month, we've monitored and mitigated, number one, a doubling in attacks to endpoint devices such as laptops and desktops. Number two, a close to 3 times increase in cyber attacks to enterprise servers, the very heart of our networks. And number three, the most telling, a nearly 130-fold increase in attempted access to malicious websites, showing that phishing, spearing, whaling are all alive and well. So truly, while the world is in lockdown, cyber criminals are in full force. After all, especially in the chaos today, in every company, there is at least one employee who will click on anything. And third, apart from data privacy and security, is continuity. For us, continuity is about a business being able to run no matter what. And it really means 3 basic things. Customers, in the case of private organizations, and citizens, in the case of the public sector, are served. Employees can work from anywhere and function productively. Back-end operations are sustained and support business velocity. Although this sounds simple enough, the organizational capability to make it happen is quite complex and requires the interworking of automated processes through enterprise resource planning systems and customer relationship management systems and the like, of protected platforms and data through data center hosting, cybersecurity practices, managed services outsourcing, agile cloud infrastructure, and of empowered and enabled employees through fixed and wireless broadband, collaboration tools, and a slew of work from anywhere technology, among others. However, there is a caveat to all of this. While technology has the power to accelerate and magnify, it does so to both the good and the bad. So shiny hardware and sleek software can be enabling and liberating. Yet, if these are infused into a process that's dysfunctional and or a culture that resists change, even the most sophisticated tech will be rendered ineffective at best and considered debilitating at worst. And so the success of any digital transformation sits squarely within what fuses process, technology, and culture together. And that would be people. Because we can go on and on about technology, data privacy, security, and continuity. But at the heart of things that matter, it's people that truly make it happen. And to end, I would like to share a video that highlights no technology, no solution, no selling, just people who do what needs to be done from behind the scenes and way beyond any mere compliance to duty. Play video, please.
Our aim has always been to make a positive impact on every single business.
Life, as we know it, will never be the same again. And times like these remind us of the core of what we do, to be at the heart of things that matter.
In response to an unprecedented challenge, we invested in the most extraordinary resource of all, our people.
As long as our frontliners are out there, our first responders will be in here.
While our unsung heroes work to make sure that the society continues to run, our brave employees will make sure that their systems are up and running.
In their endeavor to keep the nation safe, we commit to keeping their data and the whole ICT ecosystem secure.
Together, we are one with the nation, for the nation.
Lately, I know they've got many hundreds of people across the country in kind of work jail scenarios in my way, but people were sleeping on the floor and just to keep our systems going. It hasn't been easy for them. So thanks very much, Nico. Pleased to have you on the event. Okay, our next speaker is Carlo Ople. He is editor and founder of Unbox, the country's highest visited tech site. I was looking at it actually this morning, helping you buy tech and all that kind of stuff. Also, if you noticed behind him when he comes on the screen, he'll have a whole bunch of shoes. And he is the country's biggest expert and storyteller about shoes. So his YouTube channel has, I think, 600,000 subscribers. So, and it's nice to have him. He's kind of a celebrity in the tech and in particular the marketing tech space. Digital Marketer of the Year award from CMO Asia and other things. So glad to have Carlo. Please welcome Carlo Ople to the stage.
Thanks, Richard. Hey guys, happy to be here. Happy to be with you on this webinar. And if there's one thing I want to talk about today, is I want to break the misconception that during this particular time or season in society, in the world, that you can just get by, that you can just survive. The reality is there are a lot of opportunities that will allow for you, your businesses, and you as individuals to really thrive. And that's what we'll tackle today. I'll talk about 3 key opportunities that you need to take a look at as a business and as an individual, given the current situation that we're in. So hopefully your key takeaway after this short segment is you know what to do. You know what are the opportunities to spot, and you can already get going. So the first thing that I want to stress is that e-commerce and e-payments are growing dramatically. We've seen from different companies say that they're like 200%, 300%, 400% increase in adoption of e-payments in e-commerce and e-shopping. So the big question you need to ask yourself first as a business is, can you shift to digital? Can you shift to e-commerce? If you are an individual and not necessarily like a business or an SME, or you're an employee and you're looking for a side hustle or a side business, the question you need to ask yourself is, can you get into e-commerce? Can you get into online selling? Now, the misconception is that it is so hard to get into e-commerce, that the barriers are incredibly high. but there are players in the marketplace that have made it much more easier to be able to penetrate the space. Of course, we're taking a look at platforms such as Lazada, Shopee, Shopify, and a bunch of other e-commerce platforms that you guys might want to consider if you want to put up your own e-commerce or online business. Now, if you are a large enterprise and you are looking at e-commerce as a possible space, two things you need to take a look at. Number one, obviously, building your own capabilities in your own platform. And number two, establishing Trade 2.0. Kung trade mo dati is basically your sari-sari stores or your groceries, Trade 2.0 is managing your network across all the online distribution marketplaces such as Lazada, Shopee, and the like. So it's like a new way of taking a look at sales. Whereas before, it was all of your agents, it's all of your initial networks. Now it's really all the different online platforms that have sizable audiences already. Now you're probably thinking, how can I mobilize if I don't have talent in my company for that, or if I don't know a lot of digital skills? Here's the key. The digital economy, or digital is not a skill set. Digital is like the time that we're living in today. And it's open for everybody regardless of your age. Now, if you're not an expert, for example, in design, SEO, e-commerce, the web development, but you are, for example, I don't know, maybe in your 40s or late 30s or maybe even in your 50s, but you already have the resources, you have the capital, you have the network, then just hire the experts and just hire the people to get the job done. You don't have to do everything yourself. Right? The key is knowing what needs to get done and being able to build teams to accomplish what they're doing. So again, let me just stress that digital is the new normal, it's the new business, it's the new economy, and it's open for everybody regardless of it. So the first point, e-commerce, e-trade payments, going up the roof. The second point that I want to stress, and this is something that really excites me, and I hope those who do digital marketing, you guys get excited as well. Online advertising is market driven. That means that if there's a high supply, means a lot of people online, but low demand, which means only a few advertisers willing to spend, the prices of advertising on platforms such as Facebook and Google go down. And that's the current situation. Online advertising today, in the last 2 months, has been the lowest I have ever seen in my entire career in digital. If you want to place ads on Facebook, if you want to place ads on YouTube or Google or whatever, the costs for placing those ads right now are at an all-time low. What does this mean? This means that your customer acquisition cost today is at its lowest online. So if you actually have the e-commerce platform, if you actually have the online conversion capabilities, now is the time where you should be spending. Now is the time where you should be hitting the marketplace and getting people to try out your app, to download the app, to make their first purchase, to sign up to whatever it is that you build. Because customer acquisition, especially from a consumer standpoint, even if we're targeting mass audiences, is at its absolute lowest. In fact, that's the reason why, personally, I'm dabbling a lot now into e-commerce and side hustles in that space, because it's just so much cheaper now to be able to go out to the market and to build communities and to build businesses. So if you are fortunate, if you are lucky to have capital, if you have the money to spend to be able to grow your business, your SME, now is the time to do so. Guys, you need to step on the gas and accelerate. You need to learn now, make your mistakes, because the price of learning is at its lowest. Because when prices go up, then obviously it will be more expensive to make those mistakes, and it will be more expensive to acquire your customers. So if you have that unique opportunity, if you have that window today, you should be doing that. And the third point I'd like to stress is that digital is like a rabbit hole. There are lots of twists, a lot of turns. Sometimes you just fall into a tunnel and you don't know what you can find. Then that's the nature of the beast. Because if you take a look at digital, there's so many things that you can do. I barely scratched the surface when I talked about e-commerce, e-payments, as well as online advertising and customer acquisition costs. I haven't even gone into chatbots, email marketing, cracking influencer marketing, building your own affiliate marketing system, and there's just so much more, being able to take advantage of artificial intelligence and machine learning. I mean, you're really just limited by your imagination and your capability when it comes to what you can do on digital. The value that you can unlock by automating a lot of things is immense in terms of savings and efficiencies for the companies that you run or for the companies that you guys will build. The reality is ad tech is advancing so much faster than the capabilities of marketers and entrepreneurs. So the opportunity there is for you and for me and for everybody watching today is that if you take the pains of building your digital muscle now, if you take the pains of putting in the work, making the mistakes, learning, checking out all the different applications and all the different platforms that you can take advantage of, you will be well positioned to succeed in the digital age. Because ultimately, survival is not an option. If you're the type of person who wants to thrive, if you're the type of person that really wants to provide a good life, not just for yourself, but for your family and your employees, then it's the best time to really take a look at digital and technology. And with that said, that's actually for my segment, and I wish all of you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Carlo. Okay, we'll look forward to seeing how things keep going with you in the future. Okay, our next speaker, we have Alex Cabrera. Alex is the chairman and senior partner of PwC Philippines. This is the second largest audit and advisory firm in the nation. More than 1,000 employees, have been a fast grower over the past few years, and also particularly strong at using technology in its business and for its employees. So it's a bit of a star in that regard. And certainly in the region, Alex and his group have really put Philippines on the map as a fast grower, and he was put on the board of PwC Southeast Asia Regional Consulting Practice and other achievements. So we're very glad to have Alex with us today for an interesting story as well. Please welcome Alex Cabrera. Glad to have you with us, Alex.
Yep. So, yeah, thank you for having me here today. PwC, as an organization, has always been concerned about building trust in society and solving important problems. So we are a firm that is very stakeholder-centric. And when we work, we think not only of our staff, our clients, we also think of our the ecosystem where we operate. So we work with governments, with NGOs, social enterprises, and communities, always trying to implement our advocacy of inclusion and sustainability. And then on mid-March, the quarantine happened, and of course, all this pandemic situation happened to us. And I thought I wasn't worried then about the continuity of our work. We invested so much in technology. We know that we can do it. But I would be kidding and I would be pretending if I don't say that I got worried about our people. Keeping the employment of our people in that kind of environment, in an environment that is going into a recession. I was trying to look for the end game. And so that was the first decision that I needed to do as the CEO of the firm. I talked to my partners, and I told my partners, this is where the rubber meets the road. And can we bring caring for our people to life and tell them that we are not terminating anybody. We are going to keep the employment. We're going to keep paying their salaries and pay what is due them, even in profit share, if we can. And so that decision was made. We're keeping all our people, and partners said that we're paying for productive time, and we thought that keeping our people productive is the risk of business owners or the partners. So that is what we did. And even as we are worrying about productivity, we couldn't take our eyes off on what is happening in the front lines. So the firm immediately went into CSR mode and began these donations to hospitals, to our frontliners. And we got these messages things from them, and it's really humbling. It's happy and sad at the same time, because they're thanking you upon, they're saying thanks, great things for a pack of lunch, and they're laying their lives and they're thanking you for a pack of lunch. And I thought that we can do better. And the immediate thing that we can think of is summon our people, create this video prayers online, and we sent them that to them as well. But truth be told, the firm was firing on all cylinders. We were conducting our services. We were even more productive than we were pre-COVID because of the technology. Our work involved a lot of waiting time sometimes, and all that waiting time is taken out, because people are charging based on productive time, where we've gone to a 40-hour work week, and doesn't matter how you consume that 40 hours. And so the waiting time is also taken out from that. And I think one testament that we have been serving our clients well, testament to that is how we serve Globe Telecom Inc., one of our new accounts. And even Ernest Koo was all praises about how we did our work, the transition. This is supposed to be a very difficult thing to do, and how we reviewed their first quarter results, discussed with the board, discussed with management, and all that happened. All that happened virtually and online, and all the audit happened online. Of course, true to form, we're not always all work. We had fun. We try to have fun also in the office. We try to catch what our people are doing at home. Of course, we monitor their health. We have that tracker, their health tracker, that's reported on a daily basis, and we know who among our people are PUMs or PUIs, and thanks to God, none of our people were seriously afflicted with the COVID virus. But we have this game still ongoing, contest in the firm, where people send their pictures and how they look at home. And we have these pictures where they're cooking, they're exercising, and they're doing whatever they are doing at home. They're sending these pictures, and that's just keeping our close community together, and having a glimpse eye view, even if we're not seeing each other on a daily basis. At least through the pictures that our people send, we're like having a glimpse of them at home. So it's this contest is called "This Is Me," work from home. It's still ongoing, and we're receiving a lot of very interesting figures. Still true to form, we're trying to help where we can. We did some infographics sent to the Bureau of Internal Revenue, sent to all our clients. It's about paying your taxes while staying at home, paying your taxes and not falling in line. And we have infographics for individual payments and corporate tax payments. And now is a good time to share. So we shared also our tools. One of our important tools is the digital fitness app, where you can assess the level of your digital fitness, and even use some of the training assistance in this app. It's now an open source, and anyone can use it. We also shared our COVID tracker app. It's still true to form, even on an online business. We're still working so much with government, with the DOT, with the DTI, other government agencies, and we came up with the very useful thought leadership materials and reports coming from situationers or surveys from tech startups, from those involved in tourism establishments, from MSMEs, and we built that report, that data, and shared that to the public as well. I think the message here is that you cannot be someone online if you are not like that firm offline. And I think the reason that we are able to do what we're able to do in a work from home arrangement or in a remote working arrangement is that we have always been like this as a firm, and living our values, living our purpose of building trust in society and helping solve important problems. That wouldn't stop regardless of the situation. We've always valued this value of agility, and we will always work in an agile manner, and we will adapt to the situation. My only desire is that the behavior continues for everybody. All the positive things that we picked up in this COVID scenario, I hope that we leverage on that and use that as with a lot of positivity, with God's grace, in a post-COVID scenario. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Okay, thank you very much, Alex. That's a good story, and I know a lot of people work with him and his group these days, so it's nice. I know even our PLDT friends we have and so forth. So keep up your good work, Alex and friends, and we'll look forward to hearing more in the future. Okay, our next speaker is Patrick Gentry. He's the CEO of Sprout Solutions. If you don't know, they've become now the dominant tech solution for HR and payroll processes. And it's an example of, we felt strongly they needed to be part of the event so they can really, because they're a good example of systems that really do enable work from anywhere. They won various awards and so forth. It is difficult for many companies to know what to pay and remit for their employees. So this has been a big breakthrough for average business owners, all business owners. So glad to have him. Please welcome Patrick Gentry, and there he is.
Thanks, Richard. Yeah, in all my bearded glory. That's my COVID look. So thanks, Richard and Rebecca and Asia CEO for having me. Yeah, it's an incredibly big issue these days. I think it's amazing the number of companies that have told us, you know, we really had a digital strategy that was going to take 3 or 4 years, and we just executed it in 3 or 4 weeks because of COVID. So I think the whole situation has dramatically impacted the roadmap for a ton of businesses here in the Philippines. And we've seen a tremendous amount of interest because of that. So I want to talk about a few things today. You know, throughout the crisis, we've done a few surveys through our system. Just a little background: we have HR and payroll technology that companies use here to automate these complicated processes, and we have over 100,000 users in the system now. And so when we do a survey in the system, it'll get over 10,000 responses. And we've done a number of these surveys around work from home, around technology. I wanted to share a few stats from that. So some of the things that were really interesting were, you know, over 75% of respondents said that they had the equipment that they needed, they had the tools that they needed, they had the collaboration tools that they needed to have really high quality interactions with fellow workers. So that was really interesting. I think we got a lot of positive feedback from this. Again, we had over 10,000 responses across 250 companies just in the Philippines. And so we had quite a large sample size to gather this data. And it's very interesting. Workers felt like, the vast majority of employees felt like they were productive working from home. They had good interactions. A few on the more negatives, on the things that cropped up that were issues. The number one issue that was raised was internet connectivity. A lot of workers struggle with intermittent internet or a lack of internet connection. I know even just in Sprout, we had to provide pocket Wi-Fi devices for some of our employees who had no internet at home. And I think a lot of companies are in that situation. Another thing two other things that popped up as big issues were laptops, having laptops at home, and being able to connect to the workplace. And that's through, a lot of companies have these security protocols, and being able to enable work from home through these security protocols was a bit of a challenge. But but yeah, the results from these surveys were really positive overall, and I'm happy to share those. Anybody listening who wants, send an email to info@sprout.ph, and you can get a copy of these surveys because they're quite informative. One thing that popped up that was quite interesting was of everybody surveyed, the Gen Z, which are the youngest individuals surveyed, reported the biggest problems with concentrating and distractions in work from home. We were expecting it more in the millennials or late millennials, like Gen Y, who have kids at home and may be distracted by their kids and things like that. But it was really the youngest people that were quite distracted working from home. So I don't know what that says about our future as humanity, but it's pretty interesting. So yeah, this survey was really interesting. Another thing that came up was HR folks really struggled with tools that they could use remote to help automate these HR and payroll tasks. And we were very quick to respond to that. The way that I see it, for our company, our responsibility is to help companies thrive during this time as much as we can. Because we're a tech company, we have a cloud-based HR and payroll system. It's perfectly set up for this scenario. And so really quickly, we launched something called the Rescue Kit, which is 60 days free access to HR and payroll of Sprout. Companies get, they also have Instacash bundled in, which provides finances to employees who need quick access to finances. We also include BCP expert consultation there. This is more applicable in the early part of the crisis, but and the goal with that is just to help. There's no commitment, no strings attached or anything like that. We just said, look, while you're on work from home, use Sprout for free for 60 days, and we can talk at the end of that if you're happy. So that was something that we launched quite early. Another thing that came out of the survey that I wanted to highlight here was a ton of companies struggle with following government guidelines. Like there have been so many issuances from the government, from DOLE, from BIR, from all these government bodies. So keeping that all straight has been a huge challenge for businesses. And Sprout has started these twice weekly webinars because this is our area of expertise. So we have HR and legal experts. We have a legal team in-house with deep HR background, and we're very deeply in touch with these government agencies like DOLE, BIR, SSS, Pag-ibig, PhilHealth. These are all agencies that have all kinds of updates coming out all the time, and we're really abreast of those. So I would just encourage companies that have questions, please lean on resources like us because we're here to help. And we have the expertise to do that. So again, if you have anybody with legal HR questions, reach out to info@sprout.ph is a great channel. We'll get back to you and help you with that. So yeah, that's what I wanted to come out here and say. This is a time for everybody to do what they can to help other businesses and other individuals. And our area of expertise is digital HR and payroll. So we're here to help. Thanks, Richard.
Okay. Thank you very much, Patrick. And I got to say, you're looking very fashionable with your my wife demanded she cut my hair, so I had to accept. But
yeah, it's my excuse to grow it out, I guess.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, our next speaker also has hair a little bit longer than I've ever seen before, but David Elmer is he's known in the business community as bossing janitor. He started as a janitor earlier in his career, and later, more recently, built what I would say is well, certainly one of the nation's most important tech companies. And I know he's built a Google-like campus for his employees in Parañaque that a lot of people are interested to see. I've certainly toured it, and I found it very interesting, I got to tell you, and doing good work helping governments and large organizations in Philippines to automate and digitize. So it's important work that he does. So glad to have you, David. We'll look forward to an update on how you're doing through all this. Please welcome David Elmer.
Hi, Richard. Thank you again for the very exaggerated introduction, as always. Anyway, thank you everyone for joining us here at Asia CEO Tech Forum. So our, when the pandemic happened, everyone was caught on guard. To be honest, all of us were not ready. Actually, a lot of businesses from different industries need to readjust, remodel. It's like you have to renovate everything that you do now because of this unexpected pandemic, and some need to totally change the way they do things now, especially in a lot of businesses, especially in different industries. Coming from a perspective of a business owner, to be honest, the first question in my mind was how can we survive? Although I'm like a necessity to everyone, but there's a lot of things come in my head that not only to survive as a company, but how we able also to survive with our partners, because we only survive if our partners will survive. I don't believe that we can stand alone in this kind of new normal. Okay? One of the biggest question is actually how can you work from everywhere? Okay, so do your lives work from everywhere? So right now, 50% of our employees, they are now working from home, although we have our own campus where our programmers and IT engineers, they stay in our campus. So we have to provide them everything, their food, their accommodation, and everything that they need, we have to provide. But most of them now, they are working from home. So it's quite an adjustment because we intend to be like a close family, in Multisys. We are like brothers and sisters here working together hand in hand, discussing ideas in a face-to-face manner. But when this pandemic happened, we have to readjust and we have to use now virtual collaboration tools. So it's quite funny because it's like it doesn't change anything because we're a technology company, so we're able to adjust so quickly. To be honest, everyone now, even in the business, all kinds of business industries, you name one, everyone wanted to have their own digital play. So they always have to have one. Before, they don't prioritize having their own digital play because they can still survive having this physical business, right? But nowadays, everyone is like, I need to have a website, I need to have a mobile app, I need to have my online payment, I need to have my online e-delivery services, I have to have my own digital play. So for IT companies, just to share to you our model, we're focusing into 5 E's, okay, 5 E's. So first, it's called the e-business. E-business, you would like to focus on that because we would like to empower a lot of businesses so that they'll be able to have their own digital play. So we don't want to be one of them, but we would like to be to become one of their tools or to become their enabler for them to have their own digital play, whatever industry you are in. Second is we have this e-technology. Last year, we're able to create our own department, a new department called the e-technology business, meaning we're focusing on the IoT, on the artificial intelligence, chatbots, etc., which is, I think it will become very important nowadays. Third, we have the e-government platforms, and we're quite known in terms of empowering some government agency and to provide the ease of doing business. So e-government nowadays will become very important because not only on e-commerce, but also in e-delivery services, including the e-certificates. Recently, we just launched the end-to-end smart city of Manila. So it's a total paperless system that you don't need to go to City Hall and process your real property tax, business permit, even your clearances, even your barangay clearance, even your cedula, even your sanitary permit, construction permit, etc. And a lot of people think that it was impossible before, but now it's possible because of this technology that somehow we contributed to develop. Fourth, we have the e-commerce. I know that e-commerce will become the biggest business, especially with this new norm, because people don't want to hold any more cash in their hand. They would like to use digital platforms to pay their bills, to pay their contributions, insurance, government bills, etc. So e-commerce will become a very big entity. That's why we're focusing on that E. Okay. Lastly, we have the e-services. e-services will become a new play because since there's a lot of physical businesses that will be affected, and I think we Filipinos can still survive because we're very, let's call it creative. Filipinos are very creative, and the moment that we are into the e-services, we can still adjust because we can convert those physical services to become like an e-services, the likes of telehealth, or before you need a doctor to be in front of you. Now you can just use a telehealth for you to talk to your doctor. So if you are in a academic business, so instead of you your professor or teacher is teaching in front of you, now you can do it online by using virtual tools to do that. So like an e-learning tools. Okay, the company Multisys has been very steadfast in seeking greater digital transformation for the Philippines, and that's what we always said because it's nice that we can see that our platform are being used by millions of Filipinos, and we're helping them process easily. So through this system design, development, and deployment, we would like to focus on system automation services that can smoothly expedite various processes and transactions. Our mission is to become an enabler. We don't want to be like a competition to everyone. That's why we develop the smart cities, we develop the smart enterprises, we develop smart government platforms, we have smart community platforms, a new platform that we developed to assist a lot of communities, real estates, etc., etc. We also have the smart billing and collection. This is very important now since people cannot go out and pay their bills. So we develop a QR code payment with e-billing by SMS and e-collection services connected to our e-commerce partners. And the new one is the smart technologies. These smart technologies, which altogether would reinforce ease of doing business across the archipelago. So my decision personally in Multisys is we should remain and act as a technology enabler to everyone. Infusion of a certain tech play can help companies from different industry, whether you are in information technology, maybe you are in the government, healthcare, utility, retail, academia, banking and finance, and even in hospitality businesses. So they need to have their own tech play. So we would like to be one of their enabler. Now, everyone got to have their own digital play. Let's face that. Digital technologies are basically radically transforming the business landscape nowadays, reshaping the nature of work, services, operations, promotions, logistics, and even boundaries and responsibilities of various enterprises. And the current health crisis has changed the game, further taking things into new heights, right? So, that's what we do. So anyway, that's our contribution that we would like to empower a lot of businesses. Thank you, Richard, and I hope that means that has relevance to this discussion. Thank you so much.
Very good. Thank you very much, David. And yes, I don't know whether I'm okay to invite people out to see your beautiful facility in Parañaque. I don't want people to come up in a big crowds or anything, but it is something to see if ever you get it invited. So yeah, they've done a lot of interesting work. So we'll look forward to seeing David continuing his success in the future. So thank you very much, David. Okay, our next speaker is Andres Ortola. He's the general manager of Microsoft, and pleased to have him. He runs arguably the world's most successful technology company here in Philippines. I know he originally comes from Argentina, not today, but that's where his parents produced him, so to speak, and he's worked in different parts of the world and jumped at the opportunity to run the Philippine operations here. And Microsoft has always had a place in my heart. Earlier in my career, I used Microsoft products as a tech manager, and as a coincidence, we're using the Microsoft Teams software for this event. Andres will be pleased to know. So let's hear Andres with an interesting story. Please welcome Andres Ortola. Welcome, Andres.
Thank you, Richard. Thanks for the introduction and the references. How long ago I left my home country. You're right. I mean, technology has been at the leading edge of everything that's been happening in this crisis, what you would say, what we call the NPI, the non-pharmaceutical interventions around the world to try to combat COVID. And we have learned a lot around the world, on things that could be done, to the possibilities that our technology would bring, and to the limits that we could ourselves stretch that technology and that scale to serve the world in this time of crisis. So I wanted to share a little bit of our learnings today, some of our views into what the new normal, as we call it, and a couple of learnings that we've seen here in the Philippines in particular. So when you look at the new normal, there's definitely several new scenarios that are becoming more and more common. When you think about social distancing and the scale that this has to be controlled around the world, if you think about contact tracing, just David from Bulletins just now was talking, and we've been working on StaySafe.ph. It's just one example of the many contact tracing initiatives that have happened all around the world. I think the biggest learning for everybody is how big the scale is when you really intend to track that many people and try to help them keep safe. If you think about curbside pickup, you said it a couple of times this morning, Richard. Manila's traffic, it's always been a problem to be dealt with. Now, all of a sudden, we realize that not only it's possible by adding some working from home, remote working technologies, it's possible, and it's actually very beneficial in many, many ways. In fact, Microsoft, we've been running this initiative for sustainability, and long before the ECQ restrictions, we were already in the initiative of working a couple of days from home. If you think about it, if a company of 100 people decides to work from home 1 or 2 days a week, that would be around 7 tons of carbon being eliminated per year from the atmosphere. It's just a big number for us to sink in, to absorb when you think about it. Thinking about cleaning protocols and other things that we need to continue paying attention to, I think that the pervasive observation here is how technology will become a key driver of this, how to use technology to scale on these solutions. If you look at remote working, I guess our learning here, as we started to remote working, I think we have to redefine the category so many times. First, we'll look at, it's not just remote working, it's more specific than that. It's remote selling, remote servicing, remote HR, remote developing. You can think of telemedicine, learning. All these things come together will require a customization, an adaptability of those tools for us to move forward. In fact, we talk about hybrid workplace right now, just to refer to the new normal of environments being virtual and physical, at least for the foreseeable future. So I think most of these things are here to stay. I think our key thought here is technology will be the enabler of this next phase. There's no chance that we can achieve what we are aiming to, and to try to reactivate economies and reactivate ecosystems without technology. And we're hopeful of the future, not just in the world, but also for the Philippines. We've seen perhaps 2 years of digital transformation happening in about 2 months, Richard. It's been amazing how companies really took up the challenge and stepped up to the situation. When it comes to learnings, I think I would probably summarize it in a couple of key learnings. Of course, there's many things that we can talk about, but to me, key concepts could be the importance of staying connected. We had the tools for remote connectivity for quite some time, but it has been until now that we needed to put them in the benefit of that deep connection the human beings need, that deep connection, how to enable better ways of connecting. Just an example very close to my heart, about last week, in the last 2-3 weeks, we worked with DEPIT to host the first ever online graduation events for children. There's a very special moment for families, for children, and we try to wrap a whole experience around the remote connectivity, which I think it delivered great value. We're looking into many more of those graduations to happen in the near future. The second is that this collaboration tool set that will bring organizations together. If you think about collaboration, it's not just the fact that we're talking today, but the fact that we can chat, that we can raise questions, that we can share documents. It's a more complex concept itself. A very, very interesting case and very, very humbling case was the Justice Department initiative to enable, for the first time ever in the Philippines, virtual court hearings. Richard, from April 30th, in the first 2 weeks of this virtual hearings being online, we've seen more than 4,600 people recover their freedom just because of the process that was told before could happen in this new environment. This is great, great innovation and great value and transformation that it's here to stay. I don't think we will ever go back to the state that we were before. Last but not least, my last learning would be act fast, move with agility, bringing people along and creating that agility in your organization. We work with police. The police department gave us a phone call. We need to be able to orchestrate all our checkpoints personnel all across Metro Manila, and I think we're countrywide. How to do this in a matter of a day or hours. Our teams and theirs work together and put something really, really fast and efficient to manage the situation in a amount of hours, so record time, I would say. The key question would be, how do we, as leaders, enable organizations to be able to continue keeping at this rapid pace? Because the demands are going to continue being this fast. We need to enable this agility in our organizations, and that will be the key for us to move forward. And I'll finish with a thought that I really like, a quote that was said many, many years ago by Mr. Winston Churchill. A pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity, and an optimist sees opportunity in every difficulty. And no secret to anybody, we've been put through a big amount of difficulties nowadays. So my encouragement to leaders in this call today is continue leading with empathy and vision to make sure we make the most opportunity of the difficulty we have in front of us. Thanks, Richard, and thanks everybody for having me.
Thank you very much, Andres. Yeah, virtual court sessions, that is wonderful. So that's exactly the kinds of opportunities we want to see more of in the future. Thank you very much, Andres. And we'll look forward to getting you know better. I know I've been hearing more about your work here, so very good work.
Thank you.
Okay, so we've heard some good technology stories. And now we all know, though, that everything depends on data security. If we don't have data security, none of this is going to work. It's all just good talk. So we're so pleased today to have Raymond Labora, the Commissioner of National Privacy for the nation. And yeah, it's an important issue because, like Nico said, there's always somebody in our organization who will click anything. And also the phenomenon of the disgruntled employee. Leaving a company can be a very emotional thing, and sometimes employees will do things that are, that they regret later, but the company needs to be able to protect itself from these kinds of things. So very glad to have Raymond Labora. Please welcome the country's National Privacy Commissioner.
Thank you, Richard, and I'd like to thank you and Rebecca for inviting me over again for the second straight year. And congratulations to the Asia CEO Forum. It's been a fascinating morning listening to all the speakers, and really the messages that they have been putting forward really resonates in today's times. And I would just like to zero in on basically the two major things that I have gathered so far. And that is really, well, the role of technology in this pandemic, and also, more importantly, in the post-crisis period. And also, again, the role of businesses and developers and those who are actually, as I've heard Andres and Patrick, with the introduction of technology and applications to enable our citizens to not only survive but probably flourish in the future in this new environment. As you see, this pandemic is a very familiar times for the country, and it's been 60 days since we started the lockdown. This has actually taught us a lot of things and a lot of lessons. With the advent of COVID-19, we have an unprecedented change in the society as we know it. And as we slowly adapt to the new normal, we have resorted to online solutions for usual activities, such as talking with our loved ones, shopping, buying food, and of course, working. One thing that cannot be denied here is that overnight we've become digital, or everyone became digital. And along with this paradigm shift, however, is the growing probability of data breach, misuse of information, and irresponsible distribution of data. But you see, Richard, from the beginning, we at the National Privacy Commission have actually taken the posture of both an enabler and a protector when all this public health emergency started. And as an enabler, we thought that best to actually enable our government and the private sector in effectively responding to the pandemic. As a result of that, we have actually issued already 13 bulletins to guide not only the government, but everyone here in the country, especially what we call controllers and processors, basically companies and their organizations. This invitation came really at an opportune time because this week we are commemorating a Privacy Awareness Week. And this is done through a Presidential Proclamation 527 signed by our President. And this year we are focusing on what we call enabling trust in the new normal and reimagining privacy in these times. So as Andres said that, yes, I believe that technology will be an enabler, but it should be qualified too. Trusted technology would be the most important element here. And it's now up to the innovators, your companies, the entrepreneur, even the startups, to make sure that the technology and the applications that you will be introducing in this time and beyond must be trusted. So, to remind everyone again that because I heard of so many applications that everyone is trying to introduce, and even the e-court or those court hearings online, these are all, again, not only trailblazing, but actually liberating for people. So let me just remind everyone that especially our tech operators, our controllers, our businessmen, and those present here today, about establishing trust is, I think, very important in this new environment. So if you process information that allows the identification or an individual to be identified, then you need to comply with the Data Privacy Act of 2012. That means handling personal information fairly, lawfully, and with transparency. And personal data that relates to health, I must remind you, is actually classified as sensitive personal information, and it must even be more handled with care and protection. The Data Privacy Act of 2012 actually does not prevent everyone here from taking the necessary steps to adapt to the new normal. But with the added reminder that we're all here in this new environment, and it is our duty and responsibility to keep the public safe and supported in these times. But again, the requirement here is for you to be responsible with people's personal data and ensure that you are handling it with care. Make sure that you understand your lawful basis before you start any processing activity, and that you have the processes and procedures in place to keep information safe and secure. To those that have followed the National Privacy Commission, our mantra has always been simple. If you can't protect it, then don't collect it. And it still applies very much to this new normal. So, as a reminder, as a checklist to all our guests and viewers and our co-panelists, when you are about to launch or even think of a business concept during this time, may I remind you to ask the following questions. Have you adopted a privacy by design approach in your business model or in your technology? Excuse me. Have you conducted an assessment of the privacy risks involved? And is this assessment up to date? Have you addressed the security and safeguards of the tech-boosted business models that you are introducing? Have you had an open and constructive engagement with your DPO or your data protection officer? And are you being transparent with your users? Have you included a clear privacy policy or statement or notice, which is actually required by law? And are you being transparent in a way that facilitates trust? I guess these are, again, some of the questions which I am heavily suggesting that everyone take before, we deploy or we launch and we develop these technologies, which with all the with our good intentions, again with the interest and of course the innovative spirit that Filipinos have, I'm sure we will come up with technologies and solutions and applications that again will not only make people safe in this pandemic, but probably again propel this country and not only survive but probably flourish, for our country to flourish in the coming months and trying years. Thank you, Richard.
Very good. Thank you very much, Raymond. Yes, it's not easy to be the nation's first national privacy commissioner, so we wish you well. I know he's already putting the Philippines on the map in data security, so we really appreciate the work you're doing. It's very, very important, but not easy, as we all know. Okay, thank you again, Raymond. So now we'll have time for some questions, and always kind of the highlight of our events. And we've got a lot of interesting questions today. So please hang on, watch this little clip, and we'll be right back.
Key in your questions, comments, and suggestions via the chat.
Okay, very good. Glad to have everybody here. And we'll just get started with a question. I know with Nico, he had some interesting points, but the interesting thing with his group is they've delivered thousands of devices to people's homes just to enable them to continue working and so forth. But Nico, what are your customers telling you about working from home in the future? Do you think people will actually split their time between the office and the home after the crisis, or will they just go back to the old way of doing things? What do you think?
Thanks for the question, Richard, and that's a very interesting one and very relevant today. But maybe I'd like to begin by some feedback or some general sentiments from our customers when all of this started. There was a general sense of being unprepared. And what's surprising was that most of them did have business continuity plans, but a lot of them were untested. So these were plans that were designed around compliance and built on a just-in-case mindset. So these are the kind of plans that are difficult to operationalize. And two main issues really rose when all of this began. One was really access from home. So proactively, our network team really had to re-engineer our network such that bandwidth capacity can be reallocated to residential areas from the central business districts. So a lot of that had to do with tweaking of bandwidth, increasing frequencies, and making sure that there was enough connectivity to make employees productive. Second, as you mentioned, we delivered thousands of pocket Wi-Fi to BPOs, to banks, and to other industries. We even had to deliver some laptops. So a lot of the banking institutions today do not really allow their employees to work from home or take home data due to the sensitivity of the system. So having laptops at home was quite a big change in how they operated. Another thing that we saw was really how learning institutions began to fast track their need for e-learning. So learning management systems. Just as a note, the same Teams platform that we are using today is also what we had offered our educational institution clients because there's Teams for education. We're also working with Multisys, which has Schoolbox, another school management system that's quite important as schools need to automate. Now, apart from access from home, the second issue really they had was that their operations was not tuned for work from home. So it was quite apparent in the manufacturing sector because more than 80% of their employees really needed to be at the production line rather than at home. Also, systems were not reachable outside of the corporate network, and a lot of the processes were really manual and needed physical documents. So there was a lot of re-engineering in processes and in ways of working that needed to happen. Now, the way we tried to support them was to really provide free trials for platforms. So we've provided free trials for our cloud platforms, our own contact center as a solution, our own endpoint security, and security operations as a service. It was really about just providing them access and helping them out, tide them through the next 3 months. And by experiencing it firsthand, we're really hoping that they would find that the benefits far outweigh the costs. And there's real value in these solutions to help them compete. Right.
Okay, very good. Okay, Nico. And I know Carlo, Carlo, you got the reputation of being up on all of the new technology and so forth. What are other things that you've heard of that people can use? I mean, we use Microsoft Teams. A lot of people use Zoom as well. But what are others that you think can help people in this new work from anywhere future we have?
I think when it comes to like new tools, one of the key things that you should look at is, does it automate specific tasks that you do? Primarily because it will mean less physical interaction and less time to get done, which means you're more efficient and that you're safe, right? Especially in the current situation that we're in, wherein we're trying to practice social distancing as much as possible. So what are some examples of tools that automate stuff? So I'll talk about on the marketing side and maybe on the operation side. So from the marketing side, you can take a look at different programs that allow for you to create chatbots to help with customer service or to help navigate different types of products and solutions that you have to offer, or for you to be able to have that one-on-one digital experience to close the sale a little bit better versus like a straight out ad. On the advertising side, you have A/B testing for you to be able to figure out which ad works the best versus manually taking a look at all the reports and trying to adjust the creative one by one. There are a lot of applications these days that allow for you to actually test different kinds of creatives when you're doing your advertising, and then the program itself will optimize and fix it by itself. So that's kind of cool. On the operation side, what are the things that you can do to automate reports? Sometimes just doing the report takes up so much time. So what kinds of dashboards can you guys create for your businesses, especially if you are moving into e-commerce and into the digital age? Because one of the key things that you should know is that as you enter digital, what you get is a wealth of data and information. And that data is the one that will provide you that added oomph to be able to get the job done and to get it, done better. So you need to have those reports in real time. You need to be able to have access to those reports fast. And if you will create like a sweatshop of people to create those reports, it just doesn't work that way anymore. So what are the different types of applications and programs that you can do that? And of course, you can take a look at HR processes. You can take a look at whatever type of processes that can be automated and just reduce basically physical interaction so that you're safer and at the same time, again, you're more efficient. So that's the key word, automation.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so a lot more we can do with that. Now, maybe if I could ask our token accountant here, I mean, that's not the way to put it, because he's quite a senior guy for, very senior situations he helps people with. But you are, a business owner yourself with a large enterprise. Now, but from a cost savings, like we've heard about companies, delivering devices to people's homes and so forth. What about cost side? Because there's going to be some people watching this and say, "Oh God, what about the cost for all of this?" But if technology is, or people working from home, are there actual cost savings, or are we just moving costs from one place to another? What's your experience with that, Alex?
Oh, you're talking to me, Richard, because I'm looking at myself more as a lawyer than an accountant. But yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, what is more costly? Working in the office is a luxury in terms of cost versus working at home. But there are a few costs really that we should talk about. And on top of that list is lease expense. And this is one thing that hasn't been addressed yet. But there should really be a discussion between lessees and lessors, because even in the Bayanihan law, it should be a shared burden, and therefore what should be recognized is that it's not only force majeure that's hitting us, not only the pandemic that's hitting us. There are laws in the land that's hitting us, and that law has prevented us in the past month to go to the office, and that law is limiting our people from going to the office as well. You're looking at 50% people going to the office, etc. So this shared burden must happen between the lessor and the lessee, and I still need to have have the chance to see that happen because the Department of Trade, I don't think that the DTI has it right. The DTI is saying, just moratorium, and then after the pandemic, you continue paying your lessees and maybe your lease, and then maybe pay that in installment. There's not much shared burden in that, and I think there is legitimately a shared burden that could happen in terms of lease. Talking about costs that are incurred at home, obviously data costs are incurred at home. Forget the mobile cost because it's all data play now, and data is king. So, for instance, in the firm, we have provided before the COVID for gigabytes of data. Say that's 300 pesos per month for all the staff, and managers have so much more benefits in terms of data usage. But we had a chance to test that during this quarantine period, and I had our GTS people study that. 300 pesos will get you around 60 hours of audio. 60 hours of audio, Richard. But if you use your video, that only gives you 6 hours of video a month. So 60 hours of video a month is equivalent to 6 hours of video a month. And that means you should turn off your cameras in order to maximize your data usage. I mean, we should turn off our cameras right now, Richard. There are other small things that helps economize on cost. You're not paying for the air conditioning that they incur at home, and that's kind of a tough expense to charge even for tax purposes. Because when you turn on the aircon at home, all the rest of the family is also using that. What is for business and what is for personal use is the question mark. And if you can charge that for tax, you probably won't be able to charge that for business. There are obvious savings, Richard, like for instance, of firms such as ours, we would pay overtime, not only overtime pay, but also the cost of that overtime, which means food and transportation incurred for overtime. And obviously that is not being incurred nowadays. And the staff are actually asking us, can we order food at home overtime? And we said no. No, because I mean, that we will probably get to that when things normalize, and the working at home will be probably more generous in that. No charges to fuel and other transportation expenses going to clients because the clients now has been more accepting about this working remote arrangements, and therefore they don't expect you to go to their offices, and therefore we're not being charged for transportation expenses in traveling to and from client offices, Richard. There are a few other things, Richard, but as I said, working in the office, we realize is the luxury, and working from home or working remotely is actually the more economical way of doing it.
Good point. I know there's going to be a lot of employers have gone overboard making things more accommodative for their employees. like you said, free meals and so forth. And then when we turn back to normal, I wonder whether employees are going to still expect those things, and we're going to have some problems. We better watch. We don't get everything because we're going to have to take it back. What's that?
Can I make a quick rejoinder, Richard, because I forgot this important thing. I received a lot of consultations recently about whether they can retain the flexible work arrangements after COVID. In the normal times, whether they can retain the flexible work arrangements. And so a lot of employers are actually looking at paying their employees not only based on productive time, but based on results, based on deliverables. Sure. And whether that is valid based on our labor laws. And of course, the answer to that is yes, the flexible work arrangements are actually allowed under our labor laws. So even the employers are realizing that a work from home arrangement is actually driving up productivity and allowing them to pay based on results.
Okay. All right. Well, these are really good answers. We just got to keep them maybe a little bit shorter, maybe a minute or so. But I know Patrick has done a lot of work. Obviously, that's his only work is HR, digitizing, automating HR functions. Now, HR is a complex field with recruitment, with onboarding, with every payroll and so forth. But what functions typically can be performed in a work from anywhere situation and which cannot? What's been your experience, Patrick?
Thanks, Richard, for that question, because, the reality is almost the entire job can be done remotely with the right tools. And this is kind of a new thing, because historically, to do something like performance management or performance reviews, you would really need to meet with each manager would need to meet with their employees. But these days, it can all be done remotely through surveys, through online questionnaires, tied into an analytics engine. The way that Sprout enables it. So, the whole job can be done. I would say the exception is there are still legally mandated paper forms. For example, the employment contract is mandated by Dole to be on paper. But even that, you can have a runner bring the documents to your house. You sign them, you send them back, and it's all taken care of. I think we should stress that there's no blockers with the right tools. Like, you're not going to be able to, for example, to have a performance review, you have the data from the 360 evaluations, everybody's reviewed each other, but you still need to meet with the manager still needs to meet with the employee and discuss the results. And you need a tool for that, like Zoom or Microsoft Teams is a fantastic tool. And we use it quite often for this. We're a huge Microsoft partner, so yeah, we're very happy to be partnered with Andres and his team. But yeah, I mean, with the right tools, digital enablement is a huge deal these days, and we've taken amazing strides. The technology industry has taken amazing strides in the last few years, so there's no reason we can't do our HR functions from home.
Okay. All right, very good. Okay, our next is David Elmer. Perhaps he's done a lot of work digitizing LGU, government operations and agencies, and I know it spends a lot of time on this. Also, he has created his organization, the StaySafe.ph platform. And if you haven't downloaded that, get online right now. It's just on Google Store, Play Store, and just download it to keep yourself safe. This is what everybody's using. It's seems to be as good, if not better, than what they're using in Korea, Singapore, places like that. So this is the kinds of things that he does. And well, David, what can people expect from some of these systems? I mean, can you give us some stories of things that will really get people excited? What can you tell us, David?
First, Richard, there are hundreds of excellent IT companies out there. Okay, so not only Multisys is doing a lot of solutions for this pandemic, but I think what I can tell to people and what can they expect from us is that we're here to contribute our strength, So we're here to contribute something in our own little way, not only to become an enabler, but also to have a passion to help our fellow Filipinos through the use of technology. So that's one of our biggest passion. Not only me, but my whole team here in Multisys. So as we always mention to my people that, hey, one programming code at a time. Every code counts. So one programming code at a time. That's very important. But get excited because Filipino techs and Filipino developed platforms will emerge into world-class scale. I believe that. That will be like fast and furious in the next couple of years, Richard. Multisys and other Filipino tech companies will be there on top. I will guarantee you that, showcasing the ingenuity of the Filipino brilliant minds. I also believe in that because we're empowering a lot of countries now, a lot of good programmers outside the country, and trying to contributing innovation to different countries. Why not here in the Philippines?
Yeah.
We should prioritize the country. Really excited also in getting a lot of guidance, constructive criticism, supports from different lawmakers, implementers. We'll learn a lot, to be honest. We need to comply as well. There are no perfect IT company, Richard, but being guided by them will strengthen the public trust and confidence to use our platforms. Digital transformation is not a one-time, big-time solution, Richard. It's a learning process. It's a learning process. It's a one-step-at-a-time process, and we'll learn from this mistake. We'll learn from our implementers, our lawmakers, so we will be guided by them. We aspire to be a tech enabler by developing platforms by security and by data privacy by design. That's very important. We need to start, and again, as always mentioned to you in our discussions, we need to start using, believing, and trusting Filipino technology. If we are using foreign web and mobile applications, foreign technologies, and trusting our information to them as long as they are protected, why not a Filipino tech? I think it's time for Filipinos to prove that we Filipinos can trust Filipino tech, and Filipino can do it. And I believe that Filipino can. That's it, Richard. Thank you.
Sure. Very good. I believe so too. But certainly we'll all look forward to the work you're doing, so we're not waiting in line to get little permits and updating our licenses and so forth. So that's exciting. Andres Otola of Microsoft. I know, we have a couple of Microsoft fans here and stuff, but we're not here to, without sounding like a salesman, Andres, I know you guys have a lot of different applications of which most people only use or even know about a small bit of it. But what are some other software that you have that helps organizations work better online? What can you tell us?
Well, first of all, let me say it was great to hear from David, from Nika, for all of them, and I couldn't agree more with the. I think the general concept is we see a lot more than technology driving this innovation. So think about Commissioner Labora was talking about security, or communications being optimized for this, or even the Filipino ingenuity being put up at the service of this situation. I think there's a lot more. Now, to your question on technology, I think definitely data and artificial intelligence and how to make sense of this situation at a macro level. It's one of the key will be one of the key drivers moving forward. The second would be perhaps our cloud infrastructure and the ability to be really resilient and have a complete full continuity plan when you can have your company up and running despite any problems. Perhaps if I have to point out some single technology, something that's been very successful today is our Windows virtual desktop technology. Basically, you can run a full desktop from the cloud and access that from any sort of device, including a TV set in your home. So in a secure manner, connected to your applications, connected to your inside systems. We've seen a great uptake of that one in particular in the initial phase of people that know when Nico was talking about not being enough PCs and having to ship PCs. We've seen an adoption of that digital PC environment, if you will. So all of those technologies are fully available here in the Philippines. That's the good news, and we can make use of them right away.
Okay, very good. And I gotta say, okay, our Commissioner Labora, we've had a lot of questions online about his particularly interesting part of things. And now, Commissioner, there's people who say that lawyers and personal privacy advocates are saying that tracking people's movement is not allowed under our existing laws. Is there possible legal ground for this during the pandemic to be able to work around this? Others are asking about what about jobs that require confidentiality? How will these work from home? And I know we have Alex and Patrick, especially, who deal with a lot of confidentiality issues. Maybe they could answer as well. David also. But what would you say to this? What are the steps? I'm asking a lot of questions. Sorry, Commissioner, you're going to be a popular fella here, but the steps companies can take. I'm sure you help organizations on this, but can you address those rambling questions? How? What do you think? Oh, I think you need to unmute your.
Well, thank you, Richard. This may be extraordinary times, but sometimes you just need ordinary solutions, no, for this. When confronted with the challenges, with the present challenges. As to your first question, again, we have always been clear about our posture when it comes to digital solutions and applications. And the National Privacy Commission is for the successful use of digital solutions and technologies and applications during this time. And we do not own, it's not only the National Privacy Commission that shares that idea, but also the global community too, because we understand the challenges that governments are confronted with in responding to the pandemic. And the effective use of technology, of course, and application may be able to address a big part of the responses and challenges that we all confront. But again, the operative word there is the successful use. And for it to be successful, any digital solution or application must be trusted and must be inclusive. Because, even if you come up with a technology which you thought would be very effective in this pandemic, but if people will not trust you in your solution, then they will not, take up that technology or application. And that will be frustrating, not only for government, but also for a country looking for a solution to at least prevent and mitigate or control the spread of the virus. So, when we came up with our bulletins, we made it clear that in this pandemic, there are also certain parameters that we operate. And that is, again, making, being transparent, be sure about the legitimate purpose, and only collecting what is the minimum necessary and disclosing it to proper authority or the proportionality of the collection. So even in this time, these general data privacy principles still apply. And it is, again, these principles that are the foundation of trust in the new normal, in the online environment that we are all in. Now, alongside that, again, to your second query about what they can do, for example, in security, again, these are but very ordinary, especially in a work from home arrangement. We have very simple and practical tips for everybody. But for an employer, definitely, again, the first step really is coming up with the right policies. And these policies must cover the portable devices that the employees bring home, the acceptable use whenever they use these devices in their homes. And these policies, again, will not only guide everybody, but will ensure the accountability of the employees whenever they bring home these devices, together with the data inside. You have to track not only the devices, but the data these devices have within them. Also, you make sure that, again, the very simple practical, all the experts that have spoken before me would be better, they could be better experts on this, but making sure that there's multi-factor authentication. I guess even on MSMEs can already be enabled with this. And don't allow employees to share their devices to prevent weakness. Make sure your employees have secure and stable internet. Make sure that the devices that they bring home and the latest antivirus software, latest security patches installed. Remind your employees to activate the privacy settings. When video conferencing, use only the contracted video conferencing platform as approved by your office. And of course, very important, as mentioned by many of our speakers before, there's really an upswing now of cases of scams and phishing. So reminding employees to think before they click to avoid falling to phishing and other scams. And also a very simple reminder, we have been getting a lot of phishing reports because of this very simple clicking mistake. Remind your employees to double click, to double check before sending your emails. Be sure that they get all the recipients right. Before they click CC, send before they click send to avoid missent emails, which later could be classified as breaches. And lastly, be prepared for breach. You have to have your security incident management or policies in place so that whenever these things happen, you have to. Thank you, Richard.
Okay. Okay, Commissioner. Okay, very good. Anything to add on the privacy issue? Because I can tell you the comments really indicate that's going to be a key issue.
Yes. Of course, again, we are, your National Privacy Commission, again, is reminding all those who are, all companies, these are, again, extraordinary times, but we're not throwing data privacy and protection out of the window.
Of course.
The best way to protect your customers and all those asking the questions here is that, again, the responsibility here is two-way. For the individuals, you must really be, take time to really look at privacy notices and policies. And again, think before you click and before you consent to anything, be sure that you agree with all those, with all the provisions that are indicated. But that's a very good thing, question that you asked. Really,
yes.
We will remind all the controllers here. We will remind all the businesses here. The
Sure.
only thing during this time is for you to exercise privacy by design in the architecture of your technology introductions.
Okay.
It's we have always privacy regulation has always promoted the personal self-management or privacy self-management. Yes, privacy self-management is here, but at this point, again, really the onus of the accountability and responsibility falls on the shoulders of companies who are introducing, processing personal data. As I mentioned earlier, if you are processing information that can identify an individual, then you are covered under the Data Privacy Act, and you must follow the rules and regulations that we have set forth.
Sure. Well, how about some of our speakers today? Who'd like to go first on this issue? Because it's an important one.
Well, I can tell you we deal with NPC a lot and very closely work with them because we handle very sensitive, we're HR and payroll software. So it's obviously very sensitive, personally identifiable data. My advice to companies is NBC is a fantastic body because they're very practical and they're very easy to work with, and they really go for the simple, to the commissioner's point, they really pursue the simple, practical solution to these issues. And I think a lot of companies feel maybe intimidated by this body and by the penalties that come. There's jail time on the line if you don't, follow the guidelines of NPC. And so I think companies feel maybe intimidated, but there's no need for that. As soon as you approach NBC, they're very easy to work with, and I would push companies to be proactive about this rather than reactive. So that would be my advice.
Okay, that's very good advice because that's a very good point. A lot of people do find it intimidating. So jump in and talk with these guys. Alex or David, do you have anything to add with this?
Yes, Richard, may I add something? As I said, every time that we develop a platform, as my humble advice to our fellow tech companies, as always mentioned by Commissioner Labora, and we're being guided by his team. I agreed with Patrick. They're very approachable. You can ask them what you need. They will guide you. The process and everything is very clear. NPC is not a blockage. The National Privacy Commission is not a blockage to innovation. It's actually a guidance for us to be more careful, for us to be more accountable, for us to be more transparent to the people. That is done. In fact, we're very grateful to have an agency like this, so that both the developer and the user will have understanding on the functionality and the usage. I think it's all about the transparency. Once people knows that, so the trust and confidence will be built, both the user and the developer. So that's what I think that that can add. I can add, Richard. Thank you so much.
Richard, if I may just add, and this has probably capped my statements for today. And to all of you listening out there, I have yet to hear of anyone who died or got hurt because they followed data privacy principles. And no business has ever gone bankrupt or has failed in their business because they followed data privacy principles. So, that alone, I think, should equip us in our thoughts because we move into this new normal. And as the Philippines positions itself in this new normal, everyone is saying now that our digital strength right now is really the robustness of the tech industry, the BPO industry. We are in the process of processing data. We are in the business of processing data. This country is in the business of processing data. This country is in the business of processing data of other nations, of other citizens of the world. So it's very important that at this point, that again, if we keep our interests and our national interests, and I go for what Mr. Elmer said, we have to encourage Filipino entrepreneurs during this time. But again, as I mentioned earlier, if we are together and our developers will develop that privacy by design mindset, we can just distinguish ourselves here in the country as a country that develops trustworthy, responsible technologies, and that we are, as a people, stewards of data, where they can entrust their data.
Yes, very true. And you mentioned a very good point about we too, Filipinos, deal with a lot of international clients and money. And this is very important. Just a couple of scandals around cyber security, and we could lose tens of thousands of jobs, is what happened years ago with India. So it's very important. Alex, I know everybody has this issue. Alex, you want to say something?
Yeah, just very quickly, Richard. PwC Philippines, we render data privacy services to help clients comply with the Data Privacy Act, as well as cybersecurity. But internally in the firm, our data privacy officer is even more powerful than the chairman. Because one time I was telling them, let's give the cell phones of our mobile numbers of our staff to the public, to our clients, and the data privacy officer stopped me there and said, we can't do that without getting the consent of our staff. But I think the thing about data privacy is the behavior, and it's very important because not everything can be caught documented. So you may not be breaching any documentation, but in the elevators, outside in public places, you may be talking about it or chatting about it online, mobile phone, etc. And you may be sharing sensitive information. So let's not miss the more human way of spreading data about private persons, and that should be guarded against as well. So in the firm, no problems, because our behavior has always been to protect the confidentiality of our clients and their information.
Okay. Anyone else? Any other last quick responses about that?
Richard, maybe if I may, Andres here.
Sure.
For us, security and privacy can be hand in hand. When you become a global cloud provider, almost every customer of yours is co-responsible of this. So we've been investing a lot in both security and privacy. About $1 billion a year goes into that research. And we have our legal teams are actually right now more engaged than ever before in almost every engagement that we do. Our legal team works with us to make sure we get this hand in hand. What I would say to our fellow leaders here, we should demand, as much as we build, we should demand this same level of privacy and security support from our vendors out there. I think it's becoming a right and a standard, and it's something everybody has to have in mind in the new normal.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thanks, Andres and Richard. Maybe just to cap off and dovetail from what Andres had mentioned. Well, for us, the adage really is there is no security without privacy, and the other way around. Security and privacy really work together to make sure that things operate properly and customer data is safeguarded. Being a telco and being a conglomerate, we've had a lot of internal strategic discussions about how we should balance customer experience as well as data privacy. And we've had a lot of work together with the NPC. It's an ongoing process, but it's a process that has really in mind both the security of our customers as well as the experience that we provide to them.
Yeah. Okay. All right, everyone. So we want a future that is tech-enabled, comfortable and convenient and nice. We can spend more time with our families, girlfriends, maybe even more time to chase a girl. Or not. I'm just kidding. But really, really good to have everyone with us. We had some really good comments and ideas. I know there was so many postings and questions and so forth. I wish we could do it all, but we can't or I'll get strangled. But thanks, everyone. We have, going from the screen, we have Alex, we have David, we have Andres, we have Carlo, we have Nico, Commissioner Labora, and Patrick. Really nice to have everyone. Really enjoyed the show. We'll see you again soon. I hope live, though, next time. All right, guys? Okay. Right. So that concludes this Asia CEO Forum Online. We'll look forward to seeing you again real soon. So watch this, and we'll, like I said, we want to see everybody again soon in live. I really miss the personal connection, but this is the best we can do, and it's pretty good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Richard.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.